Hey friend, Megan here. Today we are going to chat about some conscious parenting tips. So you might know or might not, if you're just tuning in, that I have 3 little boys, 6, 4, and 2. And it has been a beautiful journey to learn with them and grow with them. And we've learned a lot on our way. And one of the things that I think is challenging with conscious parenting is that sometimes we feel like we're alone in learning this stuff because the way that we learned it isn't necessarily the way that we want to continue doing it. So one of the things that I see is a lot of Western parenting is about the word control. It's about controlling behavior, controlling actions, and getting the child to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it. And this can be effective, but it can also have a lot of emotional blowback and sometimes cause breaks in intimacy and trust with the child. So the way that I think about conscious parenting is that it's a parenting way that is about showing with my actions and using my empathy and using my communication to sort of share and guide and frame how the world works. So the first big tip is to be the example. So I think of kids as little mirrors to our energy, to our behaviors. And one of the things that I'll hear with parents is that they'll say, my kid will say, if you keep doing that again, I'm not going to play with you anymore. Or they use really strong and angry words and things like that. So I would say anytime your child shows a behavior that you don't really like to see, that it might be an opportunity to say, is this my own tone or is this my partner's tone? Is this something that we've said many times that they're now repeating back to us? So it's just to check in with ourselves and see, and start to bring awareness to our own, what we put out. So that has been really helpful, and it's very challenging because you'll hear something and be like, oh, that was me. So it's a lot about kind of taking responsibility and then looking for other methods that might be more effective. So that is number 1, be the example. Number 2 is non-reaction. So this one is, I could go probably into a series of 20 for just non-reaction, because this is maybe the hardest one. Kids have a way that they can push your every button, especially if it's something within you that you struggle with. So I would say the first few basic tools would be stop and breathe. Surprisingly effective, even if it's just a few breaths before you use that tone or shout or punish, that it can be just giving you a pause to just check, to see and feel that anger or strong emotion come up, and just breathe through it slow and deep. And there might be kind of chaos going on, so it seems like this isn't the time to stop and breathe, but I promise it actually is. It's the most important time to stop and breathe. So that one is very helpful for me to just kind of regulate, notice my own trigger, and take emotional responsibility for that rather than like lashing out and then feeling really bad about what was done or said. The other tool we use is breathe together. So sometimes I do this with my boys where I'm like, all right, let's take 3 deep breaths. When I can feel things start to escalating, I'll be like, 1, 2, you got it, 3. And so we'll just do it together, and it's pretty amazing how it resets their energy and brings everything kind of down. The other thing that can really help when things start to amplify is using your tone to actually wind things down rather than up. So when everybody's kind of yelling and mom, I want this and he took that, those fun scenarios. Sometimes if we come in with a voice that are like, boys, I thought I said blah, 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 blah. And the energy kind of goes up. And this really works with babies too, where it's like he's crying, it's like, oh, oh, oh. And if we go like that, they match us. They totally show us exactly what we're doing. So if we go, instead of, we go, So I do a lot of that with my boys, that I'll actually talk quieter and then they have to kind of listen. I'm like, oh, I hear you. I hear you. I hear that you are upset about that. So that has been unbelievably helpful. The other thing is to kind of step outside, because there's something about everything vibrating against the walls that can kind of really escalate things, that as soon as you take it outside and everybody is sort of like has open space, it does a really amazing thing with calming things down before they get too crazy, chaotic. So the other one is really empathy and validation. So this is kind of two parts. One is understanding that kids don't do things for no reason. And this is something that I think a lot of parents will say, you did that for no reason, or he did that for no reason. Everybody has a reason for it. So trying to understand and listening to understand what the reason is, a lot of times it's under the surface. Maybe they're feeling anxious about things that have changed recently. Maybe they're feeling insecure that somebody's not around enough. Maybe they're feeling resentful that things are out of balance or not feeling just to them. Like if there's treatment to one child that's different than treatment to the other child. So sometimes it's not always about the surface level thing, but there might be, and usually is, an underlying reason for a big emotion and a behavior. And usually the way I explain it is that it's like there's kind of positive attention seeking and negative attention seeking. And so the more we can kind of preempt positive attention, the less we experience the negative attention seeking, where they're actually just trying to get us to pay attention to them. So once we can kind of understand and try to give things positively, or if things come up and they're seeking negative attention, that we can kind of validate. So this is the second part of that one, validate, like, oh, I noticed that you're really upset right now, and even just validating the emotion without understanding what else is going on. Wow, I can see that's really frustrating that you don't get the thing that you want right away. Or yeah, I'd feel kind of sad about that experience too. I really understand why you're upset about that. Cookies are delicious. So like whatever emotion that you're sensing will help to just have them be heard and have them be seen. And I think most of us really innately want to be seen and heard. I think it's a really big personal need that we have. So that is very, very helpful to validate the emotion and come at it not assuming that it's for no reason, that it is actually for a reason, even if we don't quite understand it yet. So the other one around empathy is that more times than not, if things really get kind of overwhelming, or someone's crying or screaming, that they're really seeking comfort first. So a lot of times it's like, hey buddy, I see you. Wow, I see that you're really upset. So then I'm just validating. Do you want a hug? And like, I'll get on their level, talk to them as a human being. I feel like sometimes as parents we'll be shouting from a room, and it can't happen all the time. I do understand that sometimes we're doing dishes or trying to get things done, so we can't respond to every single one. But if we do feel like it's a bigger one, and you can usually sense the difference, that we give comfort, before we go into punishment or lecturing or, telling them what to do. That more times this kind of approach, where we're not reactive, we're not dumping our emotions on them, we're already trying to be an example, and then we're empathizing. This kind of parenting, I found, brings a lot of closeness and a lot of trust, that they can come and tell us things, that they're not afraid that they're going to get in trouble. So it's not always easy, I would say. These are very, very challenging things to do. And it mostly starts with us and our own behavior and our own kind of self-awareness and seeing the way our own parents have parented and things like that. So the next step that we do after we've been kind of heard is like, okay, one at a time. I do a lot of one at a time because there's a lot of kids wanting attention and wanting to tell me things. All right, your turn. Alex, why don't you tell me what you think happened? Liam, okay, your turn. And I switch it back and forth so it's not just always the same child getting to say his perspective first. So it's like, okay, what happened? All right, from your point of view, okay, let's take turn. Oh, he's not done. And we give him a time to experience it. And so once that gets into practice, it's a lot easier because they kind of know. So we do that deep breath because otherwise they're like both yelling at the same time. All right, and then we're gonna listen. We're gonna comfort. We're gonna show them we're here to help with problem solving. And then we help with the solutions. So the solutions are a lot of times figuring out how to work together. And we say, oh, we're a family, we're a team, and we reinforce with our language. I could do another 10 posts on the power of language, but I really think that language is so important that we frame things in a more positive way. Not everything's positive, I get that, but at least, I think we can focus so much on like, you did this, and next time you do, like, if we use the words you, it's actually a big, it kind of feels like blame. So when we go, all right, we're a family, we love each other, let's try to figure this out. I'm sure there's a solution because my opinion is there's infinite solutions to anything. Some obviously make more sense than others, but we can always start with like 3 or 4. So one of the examples I use is sharing because that one is a tricky one. My boys are similar in age, and they're still really young, and they both want it right now, and one makes it look so fun, and then the other one wants to play. So we'll be like, okay, oh, looks like we have this one truck, but oh my gosh, we have 5 trucks. Did you know where that one is? Let's go find that one. Or, oh, do you want to do a trade? Let's see if he wants something else. Why don't you look around and see what else might be fun for him to play with? We do taking turns because that's something we've set up. It's like, you know what, Alex was playing with that. So why don't we give him 5 minutes? And then Alex, are you open to taking turns and giving Liam a turn? And the other one we use is being flexible. So this one's a tricky one, but they actually are very good. They'll be like, you know what? You can play with it actually. So be like, is this a time to be flexible? I remember him giving you something before. So we go through what the options are, and then we talk it through and see if they can help with options. I'll be like, what do you guys think? How can we make this work? And then we're all working together to come up with a solution. So we are being an example. We are being non-reactive as humanly possible. We are showing empathy, compassion, and validation. And then we're working on solutions. We're going, let's get into solution mode is what I call it. So the final thing is that I've explained to them, we use yes, no, maybe, and we'll see, which basically is saying, not every single thing that you ask for is going to get a yes. But we also understand getting a no all the time is not pleasant. It makes us feel like we don't have any control or say in our life. So we just explain. Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is, oh, wait. That's a good one. Wait, not now, but we'd like to do that. And then maybe, or we'll see. So then once we have an answer, yes, no, maybe, wait, then we explain reasons why. And this one's really important to me because I had a dad who, God love him, he did his best. He used a lot of because I said so. And I did not like because I said so. I wanted to know why. I wanted it to make sense to me. I wanted it to be rational. Kids are surprisingly and amazingly rational. It's their own rationality and their own associations, but they are quite rational. So we've explained that it's usually about safety, or it's about health, or it can be about healthy boundaries and limitations. Like money, that one costs a lot of money. That one is something that we might have to wait for, or that it might not be reasonable in the budget right now, and there are more important things that we have to purchase or use our money for, things like that. The other thing that's, I think, is probably the most important thing is teaching cause and effect, and teaching kind of what you put out is what you get back. So this exists in, almost every major religion and belief system in the world, that and physics, that what we put out there is what we get back. So we do a lot of I don't think that we try to put it on their skin. Like, I don't think that you would like that if he did that to you. Or, do you feel good when mommy raises her voice? I can hear you a lot better when you just talk to me. It's actually really hard to hear when we're all yelling. So it's really understanding what you put out is what you get back, and just introducing that. And it works all the time. And introducing cause and effect, hey, if we're climbing this, we need to check to see if it's stable, because if it's not stable, it could fall, and I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself, and you wouldn't want to be hurt. That doesn't feel very good. So we make sure things are safe first, and if mommy and daddy put boundaries on things, it's because there's safety issues, and you might not always understand, and that's okay. We're happy to explain it to you. But we give reasons, and that doesn't always work when everybody's all amped up. So it is useful to see the timing and when it can be heard, because if everybody's yelling and they're not in a state of listening, including ourselves, giving them a chance to speak and say their part and add into the conversation, to the solutions, and give their reasons why, nobody can hear anything. So if we're in a state where we're listening to each other and we're figuring it out to get together, and we're reminding each other, we're here for each other. We're here to watch out for each other. We love each other. We don't want to hurt each other. Things like that. We're reinforcing that in a positive way. We've seen really amazing results. So that is not, Eric and I like to call it, that's my partner, my husband. He and I, we've kind of joked around a little bit that it's not the short-term solution. It's really about repetition and consistency and doing it ourselves. And it sticks. And then the long-term is amazing. The results are amazing. Whereas I feel like sometimes the short-term of maybe yelling or punishment or control, that those things might get immediate results, but they usually have other effects or consequences down the line, where they might hear no, 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 and they'll do it for a certain time, but at a certain time they'll kind of blow up because they never get to do what they want to do when they want to, which I think is actually pretty fair. So we do our best to negotiate, discuss, figure it out together, and it's shown really good results for our family. Not always perfect. We're still learning. It's not like we don't raise our voice from time to time or forget these things, but when we do use them, they do work. So wanted to share the basic things that have worked for us, and would love to hear the challenges that you're facing, or if you're implementing these, and let us know how it goes. But that is all for tonight. Feel free to subscribe for more. I do think I'm going to do a parenting series. So if it is something like, feel free to like and comment. And I will see you soon. Talk to you later. Love from Peru.